You saw it in the mirror this morning, over your ears again, and doing that thing at the back. Somebody cut it 6 weeks ago and it has quietly undone the work. So you will book something or you will leave it another month. Either way, you will be doing this for the rest of your life. A wolf is not. A chimpanzee is not. Their coats stop at a length. Yours keeps going for years. Some animals bred by people grow long coats too. Among wild mammals, the human scalp is the outlier, and nobody has fully explained why. So when did someone first pick up a tool and do something about it? Your scalp hair is growing right now. Leave it alone, and it will keep going for years. That is the strange part. On your arms, your legs, your eyebrows, hair grows for about a month and then quits. Every follicle runs a timer. On your scalp, that timer runs for 2 to 7 years, and one hair can reach 100 centimeters before it lets go. In 2025, the British Journal of Dermatology published a review of this by Chong and colleagues. Their reading is that among wild mammals, the human pattern is an outlier: reduced body hair and scalp hair that keeps going. Long scalp hair turns up across living human populations. That distribution is what researchers use to infer the trait is about as old as the species itself. Roughly 300,000 years, and inferred rather than dug up. The haircut usually gets filed under culture: fashion, status, religion, vanity. Something humans took up once they had spare time and sharp metal. That is backwards. The haircut is maintenance. It exists because somewhere in your ancestry, a follicle stopped switching off, and you inherited a growth phase measured in years instead of weeks. The tools came later. The problem came first, and it is older than the oldest razors in the record by a factor of more than 50. Finding the first haircut is close to impossible, and the reason is chemistry. Hair rots, bone survives, stone survives. Teeth survive so well that the hardened plaque on them can be read tens of thousands of years later. Hair needs a bog, a glacier, or a desert, and it needs one quickly. So for almost all of the stretch that inference covers, there is nothing to look at. What there is, people argue about. A limestone figurine from Willendorf in Austria, carved between 28,000 and 25,000 BCE, has a head covered in tight concentric rows. An ivory head from the Grotte du Pape at Brassempouy in southwest France, from roughly the same window, has a neat grid across the scalp. Both get called the oldest hairstyles on record. Both are disputed. The rows have been read as braids and as a woven cap. The grid has been read as cornrows, as a wig, and as a hood. The argument has run for over a century. One case looks like an exception, and it is worth separating from what was first reported. Otzi died in the Alps about 5,300 years ago. Clumps of hair were found around the body, some up to 9 centimeters long, and for years that was reported as proof he cut it regularly. In 2023, a team resequenced his genome for cell genomics and found variants associated with male pattern baldness. On a body still carrying skin, tattoos, and its last meal, almost no head hair was recovered. The South Tyrol Museum now says only that a few clumps indicate medium-length hair worn loose. The best preserved prehistoric body anyone has found may not have had much hair to cut. The first firm evidence is metal. At Saqqara, the cemetery serving the city of Memphis, excavators recovered copper alloy razors now held at the Petrie Museum in London, catalogued as UC3065A and UC3065B. The oldest in that collection date to the Old Kingdom, between roughly 2686 and 2181 BC. They were made to take hair off skin, and they came out of a cemetery. 1,000 years later, in Canaan, somebody wrote on their comb, It came out of the ground at Tel Lachish in Israel. Elephant ivory, about 3.5 centimeters across, made around 1700 BC. There are no elephants in Canaan. The material was imported, probably from Egypt. It has teeth on both sides, 6 thick ones for working out knots, 14 fine ones for lice. The same design sold in pharmacies today. The teeth snapped off in antiquity, but the bases survived, and so did a worn patch in the middle that may be where fingers gripped it. The letters were noticed years after the dig, during post-processing, by Madeline Mumkwoglu at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. 17 of them, cut so shallow that everyone had walked past them for years. 7 words, and the earliest known complete sentence in an early alphabetic script. Not a king, not a god, not a tax record. It asks the tusk to root out the lice of the hair and the beard. Then they check the comb under a microscope. On the second tooth, the remains of a head louse, 0.5 millimeter across. Not a whole insect. Conditions at Lachish only preserved the outer shell of a nymph. Somebody wrote a spell against lice on their comb, and the louse was still on it. 2 centuries after that, the tool got better. In the mid-1930s, a Metropolitan Museum expedition opened a tomb at Sheikh Abd el-Qurna in Thebes, belonging to a woman named Hatnefer. Inside a basket, wrapped in strips of linen, was her razor. Metal blade, wooden handle, made between about 1492 and 1473 BC. The handle is the interesting part. Someone had worked out that you get more control when the thing you hold is not the thing that cuts. The last beat is ahead. In March 2003, a peat harvesting machine in County Meath, Ireland, cut through a bog and brought up a torso. Radiocarbon dating put the death between 392 and 201 BC. He was small, about 157 centimeters. His hair was swept up off the forehead into a raised style, and it was still holding when they found him. Stephen Buckley at the University of York analyzed what was in it. Plant oil mixed with pine resin. The resin came from a pine that does not grow in Ireland. It grows in southern France and northern Spain. A man in an Irish bog, dead between 392 and 201 BC, was doing his hair with product shipped from the other end of the continent. A fragment of his hair tie was found with him. Look at what those objects have in common. A razor from a cemetery, a comb cut from ivory that had to be carried into Canaan from somewhere else, resin carried 1,000 kilometers north. None of that is about tidiness. Once hair could be deliberately changed, it stopped being only biology. Hair is one of the few parts of your body you can rebuild in an afternoon and rebuild differently next month. It is visible from behind, at distance, in poor light. It carries information about age, health, and standing before anyone has spoken. Chang and colleagues propose that long scalp hair may have started as a way to keep a sun-exposed head cool, and that what kept it afterwards was signaling. Both remain proposals. Nobody has tested either against a fossil. So you will book the appointment, or you will not, and either way the follicles carry on. They do not know about fashion. They are running a routine the evidence suggests was already present by the time anatomically modern humans appear, and nothing in it says stop. Everything after that is admin. The copper at Saqqara, the ivory comb at Lachish, the pine resin from Spain, the clippers in your bathroom drawer. Different centuries, different materials, the same small, recurring problem. You are not maintaining a look. You are maintaining a body part whose growth phase runs in years, while the rest of you runs in weeks. Every study, every site, and every catalog number behind this video is linked in the description.